If you're an empath and you ran across this video, you ran across this video for a reason. So I want you to watch this video to its entirety. And what we're going to discuss is why empaths have trouble manifesting. I mean, why empath? If you're an empath, okay, why do you have trouble manifesting? If you're into law of attraction, law of assumption, why are you struggling with it? Because there's a really core belief with an empath that kind of holds you back. And I want to say this up front, even if you're not into law of attraction or law of assumption or manifesting in general, you don't believe in it, okay, why you might kind of have that feeling of things aren't really going your way, like kind of consistently, kind of throughout your life. When you kind of look back, it's kind of like the same thing keeps on reoccurring. Why does that keep on happening? Why does it seem like you're struggling in getting things that you want or achieving goals and stuff like that? So we can kind of spin this several different ways. It doesn't have to be law of attraction, law of assumption, but why do you struggle in that area? And one of the things too is I'm an empath. So you're talking to another empath. So that's why I know a lot about this topic. I've been diving into this for the last several years as far as being an empath, but then also connecting it to manifesting, connecting it to trying to attract better things into your life, and really what holds us back into achieving this. So other than that, let's get rocking and rolling. Let's dive into what holds back an empath from manifesting. If my voice sounds like I have a cold, I do. And it's very funny because I am in Thailand, been in Thailand for the last 6 months. And it's very hot in Thailand, but I just finished Thailand New Year called Sangkran, and it's a big water festival. It's where you pretty much have like squirt gun wars and stuff like that, and people throw water on you. But what I didn't know, this is my first year going through it, that a lot of them will throw ice water on you. So playing all day long, having ice water thrown on you, I've had a cold for like 5 days. So I haven't been this sick for a long time. So that's why my throat is kind of, it sounds like I have a cold. But anyway, I had a fantastic time, but let's get rocking and rolling on this. Now, with an empath, usually an empath, our superpower, okay, lots of times can be our greatest weakness. And let me explain this really quick. See, if you're an empath, your superpower is you're very sensitive to other people. You're very sensitive to other people's emotions. Okay. And this was developed as a kid. It wasn't developed as an adult. Okay. If you're an adult now and you're kind of diving into this, you think you're an empath, is that it was developed when you were a kid, and it was developed when you were very, very young. And usually it's developed around lots of times. Sometimes people are brought up in very strict households. It doesn't have to be domestic violence or anything. Sometimes it's developed there where maybe you experienced domestic violence as a kid, and that's what developed that muscle. That's what developed that sensitivity we have a very, very strong intuition. We can sense other people's kind of feelings and feeling states. And as a kid, we did this out of kind of not so much fear, but we did this out of protection for ourselves, because if we had a parent, we kind of had to walk on eggshells around. Okay, we had to be careful around. So what we did was we developed that muscle where we could sense, okay, that parent's attitude. We could sense that parent's feelings. We could sense that parent's, if they're angry or if they're happy. As a kid, we could sense like, oh, it's not the greatest time to be around dad right now. Okay. And lots of times that's where it has developed. And then as an adult, okay, what ends up happening is that it was developed as a kid, as early as we can remember, okay, as early we can think back. And now when an adult, now you could even be in your early 20s, you could be in your early 20s right now watching this, or you could be 25. And what this means is you pretty much been an empath for like 20 years. So you've been doing this stuff for 20 years. So you've been honing this skill for like 20 years. And now what happens is this kind of superpower turns into, you're very sensitive to emotions. You're very, very intuitive. Okay. Now, lots of times we might not follow our intuition. Okay, that's a whole nother talk. We might not follow our intuition. We might not act on our intuition. Okay, we might not make proper decisions on our intuition. Okay, okay. That's kind of our fault as well. But we're very very intuitive to other people. Okay, their energies, their okay, what they're feeling. Okay, good or bad. Okay, we're very intuitive, and one of that when this skill gets honed in is we're really good at picking up lies on top of that. Like I remember, even now sometimes, if I have a girlfriend or significant other, sometimes eventually, I'll sit down and have a talk with her and say, hey, never lie to me. It's very, very hard to trick me. Okay. And then this is true. It's very, very hard to trick an empath. It's very hard to lie to an empath because an empath can really sense that they can sense something is not right. Okay, it's not that we have 100% proof. Okay, it's not that we have documents and proof and this is what this person's doing. But we don't have 100% proof. Like we're going to prove it in a court of law or anything. But we get that strong feeling. We just get we get like an intuition that something's off, something's not right. Okay, they told me this, but there's something off. Or you can just kind of you can it's almost like you're not psychic. You can be kind of borderline psychic around certain things. You're not psychic in a way of looking how events going to pan out, but you can sense if other people are not telling you the truth. Okay, because you just that intuition just keeps on ringing a bell in you. We might not follow that intuition, but I can remember, even now today, I still have this talk. Like it's very, very hard to fool me. It's very, very hard to get something by me because even if someone fools you, usually when I always think back, I'm never like for me, I'm never surprised. When someone does something to me, I'm never surprised because I felt it like 3 months prior. That's just kind of weird. That's what I'm talking about. Like you just have that strong intuition that something's not right. But lot of our faults come to we kind of let it go too long. Okay, we let it go until something does happen. Okay, we don't follow that intuition and just cut it off like right when we feel it. We wait till that circumstance actually happens to us. That's really kind of the fault of an empath. But that's our superpower. Okay, now, and you have the same superpower as an empath. We might agree on this. Now, when we start kind of shifting into kind of the downfall of an empath, is it's really when we kind of reach adulthood, we start getting into relationships and more like intimate relationships. And when I say this is that when we have strong friendships, and you'll notice this, kind of think back when I talk about this, think back because you're probably doing it is when you have friendships, great friendships, best friends, and intimate relationships. An intimate relationship is, it's somebody you're spending a lot of time with. Maybe you're married to the person. Maybe you live with a person. You live with a boyfriend, girlfriend. And what ends up happening, this is where we kind of have a downfall, is that we're so sensitive to the other person. What we end up doing as an empath is we give up we kind of give up ourselves to really please the other person, and we do this to the extreme. Okay, this is why sometimes if you do a lot of research, this is why like an empath will attract a narcissist. Okay, you kind of have a very dynamic relationship, and I'm not going to really go into it here, but this is why they attract each other because an empath is extreme on this side and a narcissist is extreme on the other side. Okay, so that's why sometimes they attract each other because they're both extreme. They're both extremeness on opposite ends. Kind of going back to an empath is as an adult because now you're not single, you're not a kid anymore, and now you're living with somebody else. You're in and even in friendships or business relationships, you go to work, you tend to give up yourself to kind of help other people. You tend to kind of if someone asks you, hey, let's go to dinner, where you want to go, you might sit there and say, oh well, I don't care, wherever you want to go, wherever you pick. Okay, you're very easygoing, you're very you're non-confrontational. Lots of times you set no boundaries, okay, inside relationships. You have a hard time setting boundaries. Even if you do set boundaries, you don't enforce your boundaries. Okay, even if you say, well, I have boundaries, Chad, but when somebody crosses those boundaries, you just keep on backing up. The only time an empath, lots of times, will enforce a boundary is when I'm just backed up against the wall. I have nowhere else to go, nowhere else to move. And that's when an empath will really kind of explode, almost have an explosion, because they're just taking so much, because they're letting that person, either a friend or an intimate relationship, just keep on crossing boundaries, and they can't say no, because they're constantly giving up. They're constantly giving up themselves to please that other person, no matter pleasing them because they love them or pleasing them because they're just a nice person. Makes sense. It's almost like if you read the book, an excellent book to read is called No More Mr. Nice Guy. This is probably the best book I've found on the topic. And this is probably the best book just because it really deals with relationships and how to have great relationships. It's not so much like an alpha book where you're just picking up chicks and stuff like that, how to be an alpha male. The last several years I've been involved like with men groups and stuff like that. That's very helpful. But pick up this book, either even they download it as a PDF, but read that book, and I'll put a link here or somewhere in the description so you can pick it up. But that's called No More Mr. Nice Guy, and I'll put the author down below. I can't think of his name right off the top of my head right now. Now, getting to the point of this video, getting to like, why do empaths have a hard time manifesting? Why do empaths have a hard time getting what they want? Let's kind of twist it into that, because what we just been talking about is when you're an adult and you start giving up yourself for the other person, you're sensitive, you have this superpower, you're sensitive to people's feelings, so you become this super nice guy or super nice girl. You want to help people all the time. You want to give up a piece of you, a huge piece of you, to help other people. And inside intimate relationships, inside friendships. And lots of times what I mean is, remember, we're kind of, an empath is extreme. So we're not doing it kind of as a 50-50. We're extreme with it. And we go extreme, meaning like we're in intimate relationships, we will, give up our friends to have a relationship. So we're kind of let our friends go to have a relationship. We will, give up our own hobbies, what we like to do, and have a relationship. And I don't know, maybe you've experienced this where lots of times if you have a significant other, her friends end up becoming your friends. They're not your own friends. You know what I mean? They're not, they're friends of the relationship, but they're friends of your significant other. Okay, her hobbies become your hobbies. It makes sense. Have you fallen into this trap? Do you think back to, oh, dude, I do the same thing. You don't have your own hobbies, but you've given those up. You don't have your own friends, but you tend to give them up. Or maybe you hang out once a year with them or something like that. You become very extreme. And what ends up happening is when you're in relationships, empaths will, over a little bit of time, it's not right in the beginning, over a little bit of time, empaths can really struggle with relationships, because since they're extreme, and they're extreme at kind of trying to please the other person, they're giving up so much of themselves that the empath themselves are not happy. Okay, so the empaths themselves can kind of sabotage the relationship, because they're kind of going at the relationship very extreme. And this is why and it connects to manifesting. Like, this is why, if you're into law of attraction, into manifesting, into law of assumption by Neville Goddard, this is why you're struggling manifesting, or struggling even having a better life, because what ends up happening, the kind of like law of attraction 101, law of assumption 101, okay, is knowing what you want. Okay, having clear decisions on what you want, being able to set boundaries around your life and what you want. And to an empath, it's very hard. Empaths tend to be very indecisive. And the reason why we're indecisive is because we're always giving up a piece to please other people. So like, if someone wants to go to dinner, I'm kind of more like flip the question to them, or where do you want to go? Because you want to please that person. Okay, you want to go where they want to go. You want to make sure they're happy. So you're giving up what you really want to do in order to make them happy. Okay, so but in manifesting, you have to be very decisive. You have to know exactly what you want. We're kind of breaking the golden rule here with manifesting, is because we don't know what we want, because we're constantly giving up to make other people happy, and we're not being decisive. We're not making a clear decision on, this is what I want. We're very indecisive because we don't want to kind of ruffle feathers. We want to keep everyone at bay. We want to, because we're very sensitive to if people get angry. Okay, if people get off, if we feel that feeling somebody's off a little bit, or their energy's off a little bit, maybe they're not having fun. Maybe it's not anger, maybe someone's not having fun, and you're trying to figure out like why they're not having fun. So you're always giving up a piece of yourself. And that's a golden rule with manifesting, is having a clear decision on what you want. And that's why empaths cannot, just from the basic out of the box, you struggle with manifesting. Another thing I found, and I found myself do this, is that inside a relationship, a lot of times what we end up doing is, and I found myself doing this, is that we tend to want what our significant other wants, especially if you're in a relationship, any type of relationship. Okay, what I mean by that is, if maybe deep down you really want a motorcycle. Okay, you really want a Honda CBR. Okay, or you would really want a Ducati. Okay, maybe your dream car is a Porsche. Okay, that's what kind of gets your blood boiling a little bit, makes you work harder. You know what I mean? Because you really want a Porsche. But your wife or your girlfriend, she wants a minivan. So what ends up happening is, you kind of give up the idea of like the Porsche or the Ducati, the motorcycle, and you're like, okay, I'll settle for a minivan, and you try to manifest the minivan, but you know what I mean? Because we're talking about manifesting here, and so you're trying to manifest a minivan, and you're trying to play it off to your significant other. Okay. Oh yeah, I want a minivan too. It'd be great for the family. Great when we build a family. Great. You're trying to connect everything that they think you're like. Empaths can also be masters at manipulation a little bit, because you're so good at. Remember, it's a superpower. You're so good at sensing. You're so good at intuition. You're so good at kind of playing, making sure people are happy. You're so good at it because you've been doing it forever. Okay, as long as you can remember, so you're really good at it. And you can be so good at making what they want is what you want. But what happens is with manifesting, you can't trick the universe. You can't fool God. So this is why manifesting isn't working. This is another area why manifesting isn't working, is because deep down to your core, you really don't want a minivan. That's just bottom line. Okay. So you can kind of like fool other people, but you can't fool God. You can't fool the universe. That's what it really comes down to. So the root cause is, you don't really want a minivan. You really want a Porsche. You don't really want a minivan. You really want a motorcycle. Okay. And it might be a different type of car. It might not really be a Porsche. But I almost bet, especially if you've been in long-term relationships, I'll almost bet you that you've got yourself caught up into this. Is what your significant other wants, that becomes what you want. And you give up what you really want. You kind of bury it. Okay. You think you buried it, but it's still to the core of you. So when you're trying to manifest a better life and you're trying to want things, that's why it's difficult. Things kind of, as an adult, that's why it's kind of difficult when things trying to come to you, or the universe give it to you, or God give it to you, is because it's not what you really want. And it's all caused by being indecisive. You're not setting boundaries, and we talked about boundaries a little bit, and you're not being clear on what exactly you want. Okay, these are just the basics to law of attraction, law of assumption in general. So let's wrap this up, but let's wrap this up different. No, how can you improve? How can you start manifesting? What do you need to do in order to, start manifesting, start having healthier relationships, and a healthier life. And it really comes down to a few things here. Is one, as an empath, yes, we're always going to have this superpower because we've honed this in. Okay. And like I said in the beginning, this superpower is you're sensitive to other people. You're sensitive to other people's feelings. You're very intuitive, like very, very intuitive. And it's kind of like when if someone is lying to you, like I'm very good with it. No matter if I'm at work, I can catch people telling lies because I'll just be like, oh, there's something off. There's something not right. Like I just have a gut feeling. You don't have proof, of course. You can't sit there and prove to somebody, you know what I mean? But down the road, it's always been right. Okay, that's what I mean. It's very, very hard to fool you. It's very hard to fool an empath as far as with deceit and lies and stuff like that, because they always have that feeling. They're always kind of like 10 steps ahead of you in this category. So I mean that's our superpower. Now how to kind of fix it, how it kind of spirals out of control, is because since we give up a large piece of ourselves, since we kind of live an extreme lifestyle, like kind of always helping people, always wanting to help people, and always keep their energies at bay, making sure no one gets angry, making sure everyone's having fun, stuff like that, we tend to give up a huge piece of ourselves. We give up hobbies and friends and stuff like that in order to have relationships and keep relationships at bay. So how we fix it is first we have to become very decisive on what we want. Okay, and this can be hard for an empath. This isn't done overnight. Okay, because we're so used to not being decisive. We're so used to not making a decision on what we want. We're so worried about what our significant other wants. Okay, and then we make what they want what we want. Okay, but I'm asking you what you want, not what your significant other wants. Okay, and I love what Bob Proctor says. Okay, when Bob Proctor says something great and it deals with this, is that if you want to be free, you got to be you. Okay, if I want to be free, I got to be me. Not the me my wife wants me to be, not the me my sister wants me to be, not the me my kids want me to be. If I want to be free, I got to be me. Okay, and you can put yourself into this. If you want to be free, you got to be you, not the you that your wife wants you to be, not the you your boyfriend wants you to be, not the you your girlfriend wants you to be, not the you your wife or your husband wants you to be, not the you your parents want you to be. If you want to be you, if you want to be free, you got to be you. Okay, and for an empath, okay, that spoke like worlds to me a little bit, is because an empath, as for me being an empath, you never feel free. Okay, you never feel like you're doing what you really want to do. And the first steps to this is to be very clear on what you want to do. Be decisive. Okay, start small. Start when someone asks you, hey, where you want to go to dinner? You know exactly where you want to go. And you say, let's go here. Okay. Now you don't have, now in the beginning it may seem like you're being extreme. Okay, you might not be working in the middle. That's fine because you're extreme on the other side. So in the beginning it's going to feel a little bit weird. Okay, but you got to be very decisive. Then also in relationships, in any relationship, friendships, intimate relationships, you got to start setting boundaries. And you might say, well, Chad, I set boundaries. Okay, I might say I set boundaries, but do you enforce the boundaries? When someone crosses your boundary, does something you don't like, and it's a real boundary for you, is what do you do with that? Okay, you just keep on letting it go, let them keep on crossing a boundary, crossing a boundary, crossing a boundary until you explode? Or do you handle that right when they cross that boundary? Okay, for example, maybe you have a boundary, maybe with an empath, since we're very sensitive, since it's our superpower to be intuitive, is I hate people that lie to me. Okay, because I'm very intuitive with it. I can pick it up right now. And if I hang out with the same person, if I'm dating somebody, live with somebody, if they're lying to me, I can sense it right now because I hang out with the same person all the time. What I mean? So you can sense it, like, oh, something's not right here. She's not really telling the truth, or she's not telling me the whole truth. You know what I mean? And do you bring that to the do you when that boundary's crossed, do you bring it to their attention? You don't wait and wait and wait and wait and wait and wait and wait like you usually do until something really happens. You know what I mean? Or you explode and have a ginormous fight. When someone crosses your boundary, you confront it right then and there. Hey, hey, stop. We talked about this. You know what I mean? And this could be friends, this could be business relationships, and you're doing it all around. You're just letting people cross your boundaries. And that's going to help you. This is going to be tough for you, but these are the beginning steps with being very decisive, setting boundaries. The third thing I want you to do is start doing things that you enjoy. Okay, if you've given up your friends, start contacting your friends again. Maybe you have to apologize a little bit. Okay, hey, I'm sorry, I was an idiot. Whatever. But start getting involved with your hobbies. Okay, what you like to do. Okay, you might have to take baby steps doing it. Start doing things by yourself. Maybe go to the movies by yourself. Okay, start getting used to that and start bringing back things that you like to do. Okay, just like if you were single, you're going to do things that you like to do by yourself. You have to do that inside relationships. Now, I'm talking a lot about relationships, but this connects to manifesting. This connects almost like 100% to manifesting because, okay, the reason why you're not getting what you want is because you're not decisive. You're not being clear on what you want. Okay. And you're not setting boundaries around your life. Okay. You're just letting it, you're just all over the place. Okay. That confuses the universe when we talk about manifesting. Then you're not really doing what you really want to do. So on the inside, you're unhappy, or you're trying to attract something your significant other wants when you really don't want it. So it's not coming to you because you really kind of floating around life. You're really floating around life what other people want, and that's why it's not working for you. So doing these three things are going to help you have better relationships, a better life, help you be overall more happy, but then also help you manifest better. But other than that, my friends, I've talked for a little while. Make sure you leave a comment below if you have questions or anything. If you believe this or not, if you have your own experience with this, leave a comment below. This is a community, by the way, so we all help each other. This isn't. You know what I mean. But anyway, blessings to you, and I'll see you in the next video.